So you've probably seen that in most of my videos I always bring up my books, my work, especially my latest one, Street Survival Skills, this one. And this time it's actually relevant to the topic I like to address in this video. Two big main reasons why you should own a firearm as someone interested in survival and preparedness. Realistic, not fantasy, not zombies invading or the end of the world. I don't believe in the end of the world. For me, the world just is what it is, including pandemics, stuff that happens, war happens, economic collapses, crisis happens, personal disasters happen, topics regarding self-defense that happens as well. Now, a few weeks ago, I received a phone call regarding my latest book. And the reason is that it was catching the attention of a big publishing company. Actually, the biggest publishing company there is. And they noticed that my book was doing very well in some of the charts that they check. And they were interested in talking with me about maybe working together. And I was, yeah, absolutely, we can talk about working together. I love the idea, yes, sure. If we find a common agreement on things, that would be fantastic. So, very nice lady, we talked, and of course the conversation went towards that went towards guns. So Fernando, you talk about self-defense in the book and such. I say, yeah. You talk about guns? Yeah, I talk about guns. You talk about a lot about guns in the book? Man, I don't know. Depends what you mean by a lot, but there's quite a bit of stuff regarding self-defense, home defense, defensive driving, a lot of that stuff. Yeah, sure, it's in the book. And about guns, yes, there's quite a bit about the use of firearms for self-defense, stuff that I've learned in classes, stuff that I've learned in life. So yeah, there is quite a bit about firearms in the book. And she was like, "Oh, that's too bad because that puts us away from what we're looking for." And I never heard from her again. So guys, that's the story. It's not the first time that this happened to me. Just not something that it's very politically correct. But it's something I feel very strongly about. It's not just about a passion of mine that I enjoy firearms. Sure, it's a hobby for me. It's about a view that I have of freedom, liberty, personal rights as well. So it's not just a hobby, it's about very important stuff as well. But I try to keep it very objective in terms of preparedness. This channel, The Modern Survivalist, my books, my work, I try to keep it objective in terms of my own personal opinions. That's why sometimes I come across a little bit critical about stuff, about politics, about one country, the other, my own, most of all. And sometimes that rubs people the wrong way. They take it very personally. I've been doing this maybe for too long, and I have this ability to abstract myself from the situation so much that some people consider it harsh or cold-hearted. It's not that. It's just that I try to be very serious and professional about what I do here. You don't see me doing very flashy, cool videos. That's definitely not my thing. But I do things seriously. I do things with a methodical, analytical perspective. And one of the things one of the conclusions I've reached when doing this is that firearms is definitely a very important part of your preparedness. It wouldn't be honest of me to talk about 10 ways of starting a fire with a can of Coke or a chocolate bar or whatever, and not talk about something that I know is far more important, far more relevant, far more likely to end up saving your life as well. So guys, two big reasons why you should definitely own a firearm, which is kind of ironic in a channel like this. There's a lot of gun guys, preppers in general, especially in the American community. Most preppers will own a firearm. There's an amazing number of people that don't own guns though, and they're just not all that convinced that you would need one. So basically you have these two main big reasons why you should own a gun. First of all, it's a matter of self-defense. It's a matter of protecting your life when you're facing maybe one of the more common situations when your life is in danger, besides car accidents, kill more people than guns. Diseases kill more people than guns. If you have a healthy diet and you work out, that's 1,000 times more likely to save your life than this. Now, having said that, there's a moment when things go wrong. There's a moment when life gets complicated. It's not the end of the world, but life does get complicated at times. There's social unrest. There's political problems. There's widespread problems, like what's happening right now with a pandemic. And in different countries, there's a lot more stress, a lot more violence in the streets. Maybe not directly in terms of, one of the surprising things regarding the pandemic is that in many countries, many places, the crime rate went down. Everyone's staying home, including criminals staying home because they're worried about getting sick and dying, like a lot of other people as well. So in many parts of the world, it did went down, but there's also this, stress, agitation, and nerves being pretty elevated in general, and there's the possibility of people just blowing up in violence in different specific episodes, right? But throughout in general, you do need ways, you do need a mean of protecting yourself. At the very least, if you don't carry, because wherever it is that you live, you don't have a concealed carry permit, whatever, at least in your home, having a weapon for that last line of defense. When everything went wrong, when your home defense measures just didn't cut it and it just wasn't enough, when someone was so determined to come after you and hurt you and your loved ones, at least you have one last line of defense. It's some people compare that to like a fire extinguisher. When your house is on fire and there's nothing else you can do, you just have to stop that fire by any means. If you have a fire extinguisher, that's what saves the day. When someone is hell-bent in hurting you and your family, and there's no other way of reasoning and stopping him, then this is your last line of defense. It's something that many people have this thing that they don't like to think so much about it, but it's definitely something that could still happen. Happens all the time. Sometimes it's even people you already know. Sometimes it's family, friends, neighbors, people around you that turn against one another in a violent manner, and there's no way of reasoning or stopping them, and they will hurt you or kill you or your loved ones if you don't do something. That is the moment in which something like this makes all the difference in the world. It's something that throughout the years, my time in Argentina, I've never seen anyone starve to death, even though I know that people went through some very tough times. And there's people that actually starve to death in a country that makes food for 10 times its own population because of economic reasons and just poor nutrition, and eventually, yes, people dying because of that. But I do know of people that got very hurt or even got killed because of violence, because of crime. And I know of people that were in that position of your home, someone is kicking down that door and they're not stopping and they don't care that you're inside, and you have to have a way of protecting yourself. So even though a lot of people in this channel probably own guns already, there's a lot of you folks, I guess my channel is a little bit more international because of my background, because of me not being American and maybe relating to some people in our parts of the world, Europe and such, or South America. There's a lot of people in the United States as well that just don't own guns and they're not all that convinced. But it's definitely something you should know. It is part of that rule of 3 that we often talk about, in those 3 seconds in which if you get attacked, you may end up not making it. So you need means of stopping a threat immediately. Someone is coming after you, someone's coming after your family because a criminal, a crazy person, someone that is just clearly intending and not adhering to any sort of reason, and you don't have any other choice. One of the things that happens a lot is that I come across with people that tell me, oh, I cannot own a gun here. I was just answering a question about this today, and I got an email, I think a couple days ago, for someone, a lady in London, that she was, oh, Fernando, I love your videos, your stuff, I have your books and such and this, but I live in London, I cannot own guns. Yes, you can, my friend. Yes, you can. You most definitely can own a firearm in London, even if you live in London. Maybe you're not going to be getting yourself a Glock, but you can get yourself a semi-automatic shotgun. No problem. Just have to fill your paperwork, get your permit, and just maybe join a club, start using the gun, which you definitely should practice with it. If you own a firearm, you should definitely get some proper training so as to have something to handle it proficiently and not have that be an accident waiting to happen. If you have that qualified instruction, the chances of you having an accident, if you're a responsible person, just become very, very minimal. Yes, there's still dangerous weapons, absolutely. You have to take all the precautions, and nothing in life is 100% guaranteed. But if you do things right, you can minimize that risk to a bare minimum. But you can own a gun in London. You can own a gun in pretty much any other country that is not some socialist hellhole where all freedoms and liberties were absolutely lost. So it's about people not knowing their rights rather than a real restriction that they have. Pretty much anywhere worth living in, you can own at least some kind of gun. And having at least some kind of gun is a world of a difference from not having it. One of the things that often is brought up is, oh yeah, but you can't own that for self-defense. Suppose in London specifically, having a gun for self-defense is not a valid reason for you to have it. That's perfectly fine. I mean, you can practice sports with it. I mean, I enjoy doing that. I'm sure you would enjoy doing that as well. So you own your semi-automatic shotgun and you practice practical shooting with your shotgun, which is a real thing. And you practice how to shoot fast, and you practice how to shoot accurately, which are skills you definitely want to develop. And you get to meet people that are probably like-minded as well. There's a good chance of that. So it becomes a little bit of a hobby, of an activity. At the end of the day, you have the thing. You have the thing you want to have. And if eventually something awful, terrible happens, and you don't have any other means of defending yourself, okay, maybe you will have to explain that in a court. All right, you'll do that. You're an honest, law-abiding citizen, and something horrible happened to you, and you had no other choice but to defend yourself with whatever means you had within reach. You will explain that, but it's a lot better than ending up in 6 feet under. The famous "I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6." It is a real thing. If you're dead, there's really no defending to be done, and I'm pretty sure that's worse than whatever it is that you end up with when explaining yourself in front of a judge or jury. Now, point number 2, and this is maybe one of the things that's not brought up as often, and I still think it's very important. It is a matter of exercising your rights. It's a moral obligation as well that you have to own a gun. And you may be thinking, Fernando, yes, it is. I had actually a very good social studies teacher, which a lot of people will be laughing about, thinking about the crap and junk that's being taught in social studies in universities and schools around the world today. Well, back in the day, I was very fortunate, and I had a good social studies teacher that he said one of the few things I remember from my days in school many, many years ago. He said that rights are like muscles. If you don't use them, you lose them. That stuck with me throughout the years. He was so right about that. You have a right to own a gun, right? It doesn't matter how. I mean, if you're in the United States and you have the Second Amendment, good for you. Congratulations. We all wish we had Second Amendments in our constitutions around the world. But let's suppose that's not the case for you, and you have the legal right to own a shotgun while living in London if you fulfill certain paperwork, or in whatever other country you live in. Well, it is a right that you have. Now, the less people that exercise that right, the more likely it is that that right will one day disappear, right? If you don't exercise that right, there's a good chance that that right will one day, okay, no one is interested in this, we'll just make it disappear. It doesn't matter, no one seems to care all that much. So you have a moral obligation to own guns, because that is a way in which you exercise one of the key freedoms, one of the key rights we have as free individuals, the right to own guns. we sometimes get lost on the restrictions that you have. Okay, I can have this, I cannot have that. Oh, you cannot have a 16-inch barrel, a 14-inch barrel, it has to be 16. Okay, you get 16-inch barrel, it doesn't make that much of a difference. It would be perfect if we had complete freedom on everything gun-related. The reality is a little bit different and less idealistic than that. But whatever it is you can only have a double-barrel shotgun because you live in some, I don't know, what country would that be? But if that's the only thing you can get, I would get myself a double-barrel shotgun. I would get myself 3 double-barrel shotguns if that's what I was restricted to. So it's a matter of that. It's a matter of having those rights. And again, going back to the first point, if someday something bad ever happens and you're cornered in in the master bedroom with your family and someone is still coming after you, you have something so as to make a last stand, so as to protect yourself and your loved ones. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this little video. I just thought about doing this because it was brought up in different messages that I got these last few days on Instagram. Fairfile308 is my Instagram if you want to contact me there or send me messages or follow me there for the stuff that I post. But yeah, that's basically it. That's why I think you should definitely own a gun. 2 very good reasons for that. See you on the next video. Have an awesome day.